Today I'm making a tier list on all 28 games I played last year. Stick around to the end to see what games you need to look at playing this year and which ones you should avoid. Let's hop right into it. We're starting with Resogun here. And this was the first game I played this year, and it is basically a 2D game that's pretending to be a 3D game where you're just flying from side to side and enemies are coming at you in both directions. It was a decent game, but there's not really a lot going on with it. And yeah, it's like the oldest game on this list if you don't count remasters, so it's going to have a tough time competing with the rest of these games. Probably floating somewhere in the mid-zone here, but honestly, it didn't really do anything special. Not that I can really fault it for too much, but just because of the age and the lack of stuff going on, I think I'm going to go ahead and throw this one in C tier to start us off. The next game on our list here is going to be Valorant. I always need some sort of competitive multiplayer game to play, and for like the last year and a half, this has been Valorant for me. Played a lot of this game. It's had some really high highs and really low lows. Very good competitive shooter, though. It's been a decent bit of fun. I'm probably going to rank this pretty highly. I think we'll throw it in A tier for now. Next game we'll be talking about today is The Witcher 3. And I was really reluctant to play this game for a long time because I thought it was going to be too heavily fantasy and magic based. But when I got into it, I actually really enjoyed it. And it's a long game with a ton of content and some really good DLCs also. So you can get a lot out of it. And this game was a really enjoyable experience to play. And I would actually say it's in the top 5 to 10 games I have ever played now, in my opinion. So with that being said, it's going to be an easy S tier placement for me here. Next game we'll be talking about is DayZ. And I'm not really sure what to say about this one. The concept of the game is awesome. You're surviving in a world overrun by zombies. And there's a bunch of other survivors on the map and stuff also. But to be honest, the game is a PC port to console, so there's some things that aren't super intuitive when playing on a controller. And the game's really complicated too. You have to look a lot of stuff up to figure out what you're actually doing. And it can also be very hard to find other people when you're actually playing the game. And you can just run around for like 2 hours and then somebody just takes one shot at you and you're done. So it can be a little rough for that reason. It definitely has a lot of potential. I kind of want to put it somewhere a little higher up the list, but I think I'm going to go ahead and drop this one in D tier. The next game we're going to talk about is another multiplayer game, XDefiant. And the servers are now officially closed for this game. They closed in June. But I was playing this a lot at the end of 2024 and the beginning of last year, 2025, to finish it up before it was gone forever. And the game was okay. The concept was pretty cool, pulling a bunch of characters from different Ubisoft games into one shooter. But the game did just end up feeling a little clunky, although it could be fun at times. It really just wasn't the most competitive game out there. There wasn't really anything I hated about it, though. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it in C tier. There was some decently fun moments and stuff, but really nothing stood out about the game. Next game we have here is High on Life. This is a single-player game made by the creators of Rick and Morty. It's a very funny game, although it is on the shorter end, about 10 to 20 hours. Basically, you're a human whose planet gets invaded, and then you hunt down the head aliens that are the reason your planet got invaded, pretty much. And yeah, the game is absolutely hilarious, and doesn't really overstay its welcome as it is on the shorter end. I definitely want to rank this one somewhere higher up on the list, between B and A. I think we'll throw it in A for now, then see if we need to make adjustments later at the end. The next game we'll be talking about is Spectre Divide. This is another multiplayer game, competitive shooter. It's basically the same thing as Valorant, except it's 3v3 instead of 5v5, and you're actually controlling 2 characters during one round. This was Shroud's multiplayer game. It's a very cool concept. I actually really enjoyed how it played and was pretty good at it. But it only lasted like 2 or 3 weeks before the servers shut down. The general idea, though, was very good. I kind of wish it stuck around a little bit longer, but yeah, it just didn't really get a loyal player base. Rating the game on how it actually played, in my opinion of it, though, I mean, I'd probably have to put it somewhere around C or D tier. I think you gotta say XDefiant's probably better than it, though, so I guess I'm gonna drop it down in the D tier here. Although, the game really did have a lot of potential. Honestly, it's a lot like DayZ in that way, so maybe that's a pretty appropriate ranking for it there. Next, we have Far Cry New Dawn here, and in this game, you're part of a group that goes and rebuilds settlements. Far Cry New Dawn is the next game on the list. In this game, you're part of a group that goes around and rebuilds settlements, but your train gets attacked by a local group of looters, and you basically spend the game trying to take control of the region and knock them out of power. The game was okay. It's pretty mid in almost every aspect, honestly. It was originally going to be a DLC for Far Cry 5, but it kind of works as its own standalone game. I did not really like the Expeditions game mode, which is kind of a side thing this game has to offer. I'll put it in somewhere between B and C. It's a mid game, like I said. Nothing really bad with it, so I guess I'll put it in the B tier for now, and then we'll decide if it needs to maybe shift one down later after we get more things ranked here. The next game we have to rank here is Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I am a big Assassin's Creed fan. I actually took a week off of work when this game came out to play it right on release, and I sunk a lot of time in it. I think I was averaging like 8 hours a day for that first week. Actually finished the whole game in under 2 weeks, and it's like a 70-hour game, so I had some really dedicated early play sessions on that. The Japan setting was really awesome for this game. That's something people have been asking for a while. It did some really cool things with the 2-character system, and all the Japanese lore and items. The story was also really interesting and involved in the beginning of the game, but I will say the ending was a little lackluster, and there was a large middle point of the game where you were basically just hunting people down with not a ton of story to go with it. I really enjoyed the game, though, although I do acknowledge it had some shortcomings. I think I'm going to throw it up here in the A tier. Next game on the list is Civilization 6. This is a game where basically you pick a leader, and that leader is associated with a certain civilization, and you're trying to advance that civilization through the ages to win either a culture, religion, domination, or science victory. And there's other AIs or players controlling neighboring civilizations. This game is insanely complicated. It will make you feel dumb real quick. I originally got into it with some friends and ended up playing a bunch on my own also to experience more of what the game had to offer and do some trophies. I'm not sure how much fun gameplay was in this game, though, to be honest. It kind of was more of a chore. I'm definitely somewhere more towards the bottom of this list. I don't really want to be too heavy in any of these tiers, so I think for now this might be our first F tier game. It did have its moments where it was pretty good. I could definitely see it being up in D or C maybe, but for now we're going to put it here and we'll see what happens towards the end. Maybe it moves up. Our next game is another small multiplayer game, Splitgate. I'd played this game a decent bit right when it came out and then completely stopped playing it. And then with the announcement of Splitgate 2 coming out, I thought the servers for this game were going to shut. So I hopped back in and was focusing on some trophies and stuff that I hadn't done when I played it originally. And this game is okay. It's basically a kind of a Halo knockoff, although there's portals that you can put on certain walls that let you shoot through them and go through them. And that's definitely an interesting twist on a multiplayer shooter. Again, though, kind of like XDefiant, it's a little clunky. It's not the most competitive multiplayer experience. And yeah, I didn't super enjoy my time with this one. I think I'm going to put this in the D tier here. Next on the list is Marvel Rivals. This game is basically just Overwatch, but everything has a Marvel skin over it. I only played this for about a week and a half, but in doing that I actually got the Platinum Trophy and spent a good amount of time on it. And the game was pretty fun. Like I said, it's a lot like Overwatch, with just Marvel skins over stuff, and I have a ton of hours in Overwatch, so naturally I was going to kind of like this one. It does play a little more clunky than Overwatch, it's not really as fluid with the stuff. It's still a good, enjoyable experience, though, especially if you're somebody like me that constantly needs a competitive multiplayer game they're playing. I can't rate it too highly, though, because of the clunkiness and the straight rip-off of another game. I think we'll throw it in B tier for now. Next game on the list here is going to be Mafia 2. I really enjoyed the first Mafia game, and I am glad to say this one pretty much held up to that level also. Basically, we got caught committing a crime and had to enlist in World War II because of it, but our ties to our buddy who we were committing the crime with got us out of the war early, and then we're trying to rise our way up through a family in the Mafia. And that family turns on us, so we join a different family, and then we turn on them, and there's just a lot of flipping back and forth going on there, conducting various Mafia activities. The world was very well created in this game. The story is pretty good too. I'm definitely going to put it pretty high up my list here. The question is A or B tier. I think for now we will put it up in A and see how that holds as we continue ranking the games here. Next game is Chivalry 2, and I played a decent bit of this a couple years back, but I just came back to it. I was going after the remaining trophies I had in this game, and the main reason I had to do that is because when I was playing it back then, my stats got all reset, so I basically had to start fresh again. This game's a cool concept. Medieval warfare is a cool time period to focus a game on, but something about melee combat games, they just don't always sit right with me, and I can say the same for this one here. The battles can get kind of repetitive also, and some of the maps aren't super balanced. It feels like certain sides win way more often than they should. So for this one, I'm probably going to throw it in C tier here. Next we have a heist game, Payday 3. And this game was okay. It's very complicated. Again, you basically have to watch a YouTube walkthrough of the heists before you do them, if you want to do them in the most effective way, which kind of takes away from how good the game could be in my opinion, but it is rewarding to finally figure out what you're doing and get it done. There can be some tense moments in this game, but it is kind of held back by the complexity of some of the heists, and you basically need a team of 4 people that know what they're doing to get through some of these effectively. So for me, I think I'm going to throw this one in the C tier again. The next game we're going to be talking about here is one you guys might not be familiar with, and that's Catan. And the reason you might not be familiar with it is this is actually a board game. And I've played this board game a lot, and it's a really enjoyable competitive strategy game. Basically, there's 5 different resource tiles on the map of about 20 tiles, and you place down 2 initial settlements, with each settlement being worth 1 point, a city worth 2 points, and if you have the longest road or largest army, you can also get 2 points, and the objective is to build up your civilization until you have 10 points. And the video game version of this game is pretty nice because you can play with random people or your friends online, and you don't have to worry about setting up or cleaning up the game afterwards. It's a pretty exact replica of the board game with those nice features I just mentioned, but because it doesn't necessarily have a lot of gaming aspects going on, I'm going to throw it in B tier for now. Next we have Far Cry 6 here, and this game's a little special to me because it's actually my 100th platinum. And it kind of had to tie into my first platinum, which was Far Cry 4. This game I'm going to throw in B tier also, though, to be honest. Kind of a standard Ubisoft open world formula. A lot of people say that as a negative towards these games, but I really am into that. This game is pretty good across the board, nothing really holding it back, but nothing to write home about either. If you enjoy the Ubisoft formula, though, it's definitely one you should get around to playing at some point here. Next we have Road 96, and this is the first game I played that's a part of my 1 through 10 difficulty challenge, which is basically a challenge where you play a game that is rated as a 1 difficulty online, all the way up to a 10 difficulty. I'm still working on that challenge right now, and I'm currently about halfway through my 9 out of 10, so expect to see more content coming out on that soon. And this game, is pretty enjoyable. It's a short indie game where you're basically a teenager trying to escape your country, and you have to go through multiple random kind of strange scenarios to be able to get out, and you have to do that a couple times to actually beat the game with different teams. And that's part of what was so good about the 1 for 10 challenge. This was a game that was kind of a hidden gem that I never would have probably played if it weren't for this challenge. It is kind of a simple game though, not that it really does too much wrong, but it's almost more of a story-driven experience than much of a gameplay thing. So for that reason, I think I'm going to throw it in the B tier here. Next game we have here is Maneater. In this game, you're just a shark, and you eat stuff to get bigger and get revenge on the captain that took out your mother. And yeah, not a lot of brain power going on in this game here. You basically just swim around and eat stuff, constantly getting bigger through a couple different terrains. It was okay. Honestly, like a lot of button mashing and stuff, and not much story. I think we're going to throw this one into the C tier. Now we have Jedi Survivor here. And I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I definitely enjoyed playing this game. They improved on the first one in some aspects, like the maps made a lot more sense this time. It was a lot harder to just get lost and have no idea where you're going. Although I think the story did suffer a little bit compared to the first game. There was also some fights that were really hard. This game low-key had me raging at some points. It was a good game, though. I'm glad I played it. I think I'm going to throw it up in the B tier. But even though they did improve the maps and arguably the lightsaber stances, it is held back by the story and some of the combat encounters, in my opinion. Next we have Deathloop here, which basically is a game where you're repeating the same day over and over again, and you have to hunt down, I believe it's 7 people in one day to stop that from happening. And this game is interesting because it doesn't really hold your hand at all. You kind of just got to figure out who these people are and where they will be throughout the day so that you're able to get all 7 of them in one day. And almost everything resets at the end of a day, which makes it kind of interesting in that aspect. The game has, I'd say, a decent story, although there's not a ton going on there. But the weapon and ability system is really cool. It's kind of a takeoff of the Dishonored systems. If any of you have played that, you have abilities like teleporting and stuff, along with some fun-to-use weapons. And yeah, this was another pretty good one. I think I'm going to throw this up in the B tier. Next we have Uncharted 1 here. This is actually the first Uncharted game I've ever played, but I've always been a big Tomb Raider fan. And this game was awesome, honestly. It kind of showed its age a little bit, but they did a pretty good job with the remastered that I played. There's a lot of cool combat scenarios, some history, some cool environments, some cinematic shots for sure. That's a staple in the Uncharted series, it seems like. I don't really have a lot that's bad to say about this game. It was really good across the board. I'm going to throw it up in my A tier here. Next we have Returnal here, which is in some ways similar to Deathloop. Basically, we are a astronaut, essentially, for like an exploration group, and we crash land on a planet, and there's a bunch of random enemies and rooms that generate in different orders on that planet, and we gotta fight our way through, and we have to do that for 3 planets, and then another 3 planets to beat the game. And you have some tools you find along the way to make things easier, and you're upgrading different things and getting artifacts on each run to make you stronger. But on the next run, when you die, you've basically lost everything you've acquired. So it's a lot of just figuring out different enemies, how to counter them the best, and kind of getting some good RNG on the stuff you're able to find to upgrade your character. This game can definitely be a little challenging, but I enjoyed that challenge, and I'm going to throw it in the B tier. Speaking of challenging, we have Crash Bandicoot 1 as our next game here. And I thought I was going to breeze through this game, but it ended up torturing me a little bit, to be honest. The controls seem really simple and stuff, but you really have to get some of these timings down perfectly, especially if you're trying to get speedrun times in each level, which I was trying to do. Some of those ended up being absolutely brutal. And while it did feel really rewarding when you beat tough levels in this game, a lot of times it just had me raging and blaming the controls for being janky and stuff. It's maybe shown its age a little bit, although it did have its good moments. I think I'm going to throw it down in C tier. The next game we're going to be ranking here is Battlefield 6. And so far I've only played the multiplayer and the Battle Royale in this game, although I will be playing the campaign shortly in the beginning of this year after I finish my 1 for 10 challenge. The multiplayer was very good right when it launched. This game had me absolutely captivated for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but then things just started getting repetitive and it kind of got old for me. There's really just not a lot to play for in this game after you've been in enough matches. Like, it doesn't have a calling card system or camo system that really rivals Call of Duty. I think if it did, that would help the game out a lot, in my opinion. And while it was really good for those first 2 or 3 weeks, I haven't really touched the multiplayer since then, and the Battle Royale didn't really hit with me either, even though I am kind of a BR guy. I'm debating between high C or low B for this one. I think we'll put it in low B for now. And the next game on the list is going to be Call of Duty Black Ops 7 here. This game has gotten so much undeserved hate. I've played every COD that's ever come out, and this one's actually pretty good. I've always liked the Black Ops series. The multiplayer in this game is very good. The maps are nice. The movement and gunplay is as good as always, and the career class system and all of that. It has pretty good calling cards to grind for too. I always enjoy doing that in the multiplayer. Granted, the campaign does suck, but the new mode they added, Endgame, is a nice twist. That's basically a extraction shooter. And then you have the Dead Ops Arcade, which is another nice little side mode. And of course, Zombies, a staple for the Black Ops game modes. And this Zombies was really interesting and complex. There's like multiple different areas, and you have a truck you drive around to get between them to do the Easter egg and stuff. The game is definitely overhated. The campaign is a massive letdown though, and I've kind of stopped playing the game altogether at this point. I don't think I can put it up in A tier. I think it's going to be a B tier game also. And these next 2 games here, Sea of Thieves and Dead by Daylight, are kind of similar in the fact that they are multiplayer games I've kind of played over the years in the background. Sea of Thieves is one I played a lot more this last year though. I really got into this game in the last year and went after a lot of the trophies and exploring the different aspects of the game. When things go wrong in this game it can suck, but when they go right it can be a lot of fun and feel really good. I'm probably going to throw it in the B tier. Dead by Daylight, in this game this year I only checked out the 2 or 3 most recent DLCs. I have a ton of hours in this game, but only played it a little bit last year. I'll probably just throw this one in B tier also. Okay, now we can go for the list here and make any adjustments to the rankings we might need to here. This B tier is a little heavy, so I might move some of those up and down to kind of even things out a little bit here. Feeling good about Witcher up in S tier. And then the A, we got Valorant, High on Life, AC Shadows, Mafia 2, and Uncharted 1. I really loved Shadows when it came out. I do acknowledge the story was kind of lackluster in the end, but I think I am okay with moving it up in S tier above all these games in A, and that will help the tier list look a little better here also. Like I said, I took a week off work to play that and played like 8 hours a day when it came out. That was definitely a highlight of the year for me, gaming-wise. And then A tier here, I guess I'll do order as I go through. I'm fine having Valorant in the top of A. That was a pretty good competitive multiplayer shooter that I've sunk a lot of time into last year. But these single-player games, I think I'm going to move Uncharted ahead of High on Life and Mafia 2. And these 2 I could flip either way. I think maybe I'd move Mafia a little higher just because it's slightly longer. Now in the B tier here, let's see if any of these deserve to get moved up the list maybe. I think Far Cry New Dawn is right here, same with Marvel Rivals, Catan, Far Cry 6, Red 96. All pretty comfortable with those being B tiers. Survivor I could arguably move up to A, I'll have to think about that one. Same with Deathloop. I think I like Deathloop a little better than Returnal, so it would be this one over that if I'm going to move one up. Battlefield 6 feels pretty decent there. BO7 could maybe be moved up, although it doesn't quite have the longevity that some other CODs have that I've played in the past, and the campaign was bad. And then Sea of Thieves and Dead by Daylight are kind of ongoing multiplayer games in the background, so it's kind of hard to move those around too much. Deathloop was a really different game for me that I haven't really played before. So I think I will move that up to the A tier. Then let's try to straighten out the order in this B tier a little bit. I was thinking about moving Survivor up, so I think we'll just move that to the front of the B tier automatically. And then BO7 is in contention up here somewhere also. And I would argue probably Far Cry 6 was a little better than New Dawn, so we'll move that up. And then I think we'll go Returnal, Rivals, Road 96, Catan, Battlefield 6, and our 2 multiplayers here. Pretty happy with that ranking for this tier. Down in C tier here, we got Resogun, XDefiant, Chivalry 2, Payday 3, Maneater, and Crash 1. I think the order I'm going to decide on here is XDefiant. The game was decently enjoyable while the servers were up for it. And then we'll probably go Shiv 2, very different with the medieval combat, that's kind of cool. And then maybe Crash 1, really high highs, really low lows. And then I think we'll probably do Payday 3, Resogun, Maneater. I think I'm okay with this order here. And then D tier, I'm happy with this order already. Maybe I'd move Spectre above DayZ. We can go ahead and do that, and then we'll leave Civ down here in F. So yeah guys, this is going to be my final tier list for all 28 of the games I played last year. Let me know what games you think I rated too highly, and which ones I rated too lowly. And also let me know what your favorite game was that you played last year. A lot of these games that you're seeing on this tier list will have videos about them coming out soon on my channel, along with the whole 1 through 10 difficulty challenge I'm doing right now. So you should definitely subscribe to stay tuned and catch those as they come out. That's all from me today. Thanks for watching.